We all know that Norman Price has a different voice depending on where you watched him when you were a kid. If, like me, you grew up watching him in the UK, he sounded a little bit like this.
Once the King of Dragons has a fire-breathing dragon, I will be the greatest king ever!
If, like Matt Neff and Cartoon Movement, you watched him in America, he sounded a little more like this.
Behold, my dragon!
Wow! It's amazing!
It's great!
It's on fire!
What? Whoa!
British or American, Norman Price sucks. To confirm this, I found an episode where Norman Price almost kills his friend 3 times. And we're going to watch all 3 incidents today. But what if I told you there was a version of Norman Price that not only had a different voice, but had a totally different character? Season 5 was never dubbed with an American accent. There are versions in English and Welsh, but not American. Could this British version of the character be a nicer iteration? One that was in turn distorted and destroyed by the Americans who gutted the character and turned him into a national joke? I know, I could have used a British version of the dub to make it an all-out British civil war. To my British viewers, it's on us guys. We're to blame for Norman Price. Specifically, the Welsh. But let's have a little fun. This is Battle of the Brats after all. American dub versus British original. BOTB, let's go! Meet New Norman. Is this finally a nice Norman Price? A more respectful, considerate, more well-rounded character?
Today, Norman Price, age 7, made history when he climbed to the top of Pontopandi Mountain. He arrived a whole hour before the world's top grown-up mountain climber.
Well, he hasn't said anything yet, but at least he's ambitious. He's dreaming big, and I respect that in a boy. I wonder if he's polite too. I bet he is.
And had these words to say. Ha ha, beat you.
Oh, I set myself up for that one now, didn't I? Okay, so it hasn't started well. And yet, Season 5 Norman certainly has his qualities. He has a positive relationship with his mum, Dilys. He wants to make her proud.
I'll be so proud of me when I climb to the top and the Queen makes me Sir Norman Price.
Dilys also protects Norman later in the episode.
I heard about your little lad. Mind if I film the rescue for the news? All right, go ahead. As long as you don't upset my Norman. He's very sensitive, you know.
Quick reminder to hit subscribe for weekly Battle of the Brats videos. Thank you. In the US version of the show, however, Norman is simply one-dimensional. He wants personal glory above all else. Norman makes a spy movie and couldn't care less if his friends get injured in the process.
The last time we did dangerous stunts in one of Norman's films, we got chased down a mountain by an avalanche.
Ha! That was nothing compared to this one.
Norman is unwilling to do the hard work himself though. Instead he makes his young friend James do, well, everything. After all, why get your hands dirty when James's will do just fine?
Ready, stunt double?
Aw, why do I have to be your stunt double, Norman?
For Season 5 Norman Price, on the other hand, Norman is willing to work independently to achieve his goals. Even if that goal is climbing a mountain. It's unsafe, yes, but it's also quite heroic. Smash like to pay respect to hero Norman. Conversely, throughout the Season 10 episode, American Norman puts James in dangerous situations.
Action!
This culminates with James almost drowning as he refuses to do a stunt that Norman has pressured him into doing.
Aim for that wall of empty boxes, James! This is the bit where...
I can't do it!
This is especially selfish as the exact same thing happened to Norman in an earlier Fireman Sam episode, except Norman, he fell in.
Gotcha!
Interestingly, Norman is far less selfish in Season 5. In fact, Norman is selfless. Norman risks his own life to save that of a sheep's.
Don't worry, Wooly. I've got you. Soon have you safe.
He even goes against Fireman Sam's advice to save the Woolly Wonder, showing both independence and bravery.
What about Wooly? I'll have to come back for him. I'm not leaving him on his own. Norman, don't argue. You're being rescued.
Norman is certainly ambitious in both iterations of the show. In the US version, he wants to make a world-famous spy movie. In the British edition, Norman hikes up a mountain alone, with the dream of breaking the world record. Even as rocks pour down on him, he refuses to quit his journey, showing admirable determination.
More than a few pebbles to stop Norman Price.
This is for sure one of the more admirable traits of Norman's character. He may have little seeds, but boy oh boy does this Welsh Wonder dream big. You've got to love a dreamer. Maybe that's one of the reasons that we the public keep coming back to Norman Price. However, it is Norman's sense of ambition that leads to his downfall. Whereas in the UK version he ends up getting stuck and needing a mountaintop rescue, in the US edition things go even worse. Norman's stunt goes horribly wrong.
Tie up the stunt double.
I don't like movie making. Or being tied to a chair.
Stop complaining, James.
Poor James ends up tied to a chair as the building burns around him.
Uh-oh.
Ah!
Cut! Cut! I think we better call Fireman Sam.
The amount of therapy James will need as a result of being Norman Price's childhood friend is simply unthinkable. Send Norman the bills, James. Send Norman those bills. As for Fireman Sam, he doesn't seem to like CGI Norman much. You can see why. Norman repeatedly put James in dangerous situations, despite Sam's warnings.
Perhaps these stunts are getting a bit too spectacular, Norman? It sounds great, Norman. Just make sure the stunts aren't too dangerous, okay?
And so, the ever-patient Fireman Sam snaps.
Norman Price, next time you make a movie, have a grown-up supervise all the stunts.
Yes, Fireman Sam. I'm sorry.
Look at Sam glowering at Norman from under his helmet. He detests the little Satan spawn. It's not just Sam that hates Norman, it's literally everyone in the American version of the show. James is his stunt double only because Norman's other friends, refuse to tolerate him.
Why do I have to be your stunt double, Norman? Because Sarah and I said no.
Norman is also laughed at by the entire town when his mother Dilys reveals that his middle name is Stanley.
Dangerous stuff is my middle name.
No, it's not Norman. It's Stanley.
Mom!
Stanley?
Everyone spam Norman Stanley Price in the comments. I mean, he literally almost killed James 3 times, so it's the least we can do. Hashtag do it for James. Norman is much better liked in the season 5 version of the show. His friends express surprise when Norman doesn't join them for the picnic and seem to miss the Ginger Ninja.
It isn't like Norman to miss a picnic, especially when there are peanut butter sandwiches with chocolate sprinkles.
Norman's friends are also impressed by Norman's sense of adventure.
What an adventure, Norman.
You were so brave.
You can see why. Season 5 Norman actually has a sense of humour. Take the time that a sheep falls on his head. I'm not joking.
Blooming pebbles are getting bigger. The weather forecast didn't say anything about it raining sheep today.
He's also just a decent guy, caring for his new lamb friend. Even Fireman Sam himself praises Norman for the fact that he saved a sheep.
Still, fair play, Norman. You did save Wooly.
Norman in the US version shares none of these character traits. But at least American Norman gets his comeuppance. Cowardly Norman puts James in the firing line for one of his stunts yet again, and James sensibly moves out of the way, meaning Norman can pay the price.
Ready, James?
I don't want to get squirted.
Action! Ah, you're the worst stunt double ever!
To my mind, everything about Norman in Season 5 is more charming than the newer CGI monstrosity. His character is more wholesome and well-rounded, his voice is actually pleasant to listen to, and don't even get me started on the animation style. Indeed, it's a shame that we only got one season of this style of animation and writing, as from Seasons 6 to 13, corners were cut and CGI invaded the entirety of the show. In fairness though, the new Fireman Sam has been immensely popular. Despite probably not costing very much money to produce, the episodes rack up millions and millions of views. Norman's grating voice, demonic eyes, and overall exaggerated character clearly appeals to the average iPad brat. And well, we're talking about him again, aren't we? Another round to Norman Stanley Price. Which brat should I look at next? Let me know in that comment section below. Snipe, snap, out. Bonus meme. OG Norman, he deserves his own episode. For now though, let's enjoy him in bonus meme.
Careful, Norman. Oh!